Day 234. Jeremiah 46, 47 and 48. The passages for the scripture whispers that we shall come across may seem difficult to connect with. They speak about Egypt, the Philistines and Moab, ancient nations facing war, loss, pride, fear and judgment. Human strength, position, possessions and pride cannot ultimately protect us. But God remains sovereign, and even in judgment, He leaves room for hope. Let's reflect on that together. Welcome. Whisper 1. Don't put your confidence in human strength. We begin where Egypt is preparing for battle. Everything appears ready. The horses are prepared. The soldiers are armed. The shields are in place. The warriors look strong. But then everything changes. The army that appeared powerful becomes frightened and begins to retreat. They are terrified. They are retreating. Their warriors are defeated. There is something deeply relatable here. Sometimes we also prepare our own armies. Our education, our connections, our money, our experience, our position, our plans, our reputation. And there is nothing wrong with preparing well. The problem begins when preparation becomes our source of security instead of God. We can become so confident in what we have built that we forget who ultimately holds our lives. Egypt looked powerful, but power did not guarantee victory. And that gives us a question worth asking. What am I trusting in more than I am trusting God? Perhaps it is your career, perhaps it is your business, perhaps it is a relationship, perhaps it is your savings, or your ability to solve every problem yourself. Earthly strength can change very quickly, but God does not. Whisper 2. Don't let fear become your master. Then, almost surprisingly, after speaking about the judgment of the nations, God turns His attention to His people. Do not be afraid, Jacob my servant. Do not be dismayed, Israel. Do not be afraid, Jacob my servant, for I am with you. I love the simplicity of that message. I am with you. Not you will never face trouble. Not nothing difficult will ever happen. But I am with you. That distinction matters. Faith does not mean that difficult seasons disappear. Sometimes the storm is still there. The uncertainty is still there. The diagnosis of a difficult situation may still be there. The financial pressure may still be there. The family challenge may still be there. But fear does not have to become your master. Because God's presence gives us something fear cannot give us: perspective. You may not know what tomorrow holds, but you can know who holds you. Whisper 3. Pride can make us forget our limitations. The focus is on Moab, and one of the recurring problems we see is pride. Moab had become confident in its strength, achievements, and possessions. Since you trust in your deeds and riches, you too will be taken captive. Think about how relevant that is today. We live in a world that constantly tells us, build more, earn more, own more, achieve more, be more impressive. And sometimes, without realizing it, we begin to measure our security by what we have accomplished. But achievements are wonderful servants and terrible foundations. Your success is not your identity. Your possessions are not your security. Your title is not your worth. Your popularity is not your value. And your ability to control circumstances is an illusion. This passage challenges us to examine the foundation beneath our confidence. What happens when the thing you have built your confidence on is shaken? If everything external changes, will you still know who you are in God? That is a question worth sitting with. Whisper 4. God takes pride seriously. Jeremiah repeatedly describes the downfall of Moab, and the reason becomes clear. Moab will be destroyed as a nation because she defied the Lord. The lesson isn't simply that God dislikes successful people. Rather, Scripture warns us about a heart that becomes so self-sufficient that it no longer recognizes God. Pride says, I did this myself. Humility says, God gave me the ability, the opportunity, and the strength. Pride says, I don't need anyone. Humility says, I need God. Pride says, I am in control. Faith says, God is in control. And sometimes, the greatest spiritual growth comes when life reminds us that we were never actually in control to begin with. Whisper 5. Judgment is not the end of the story. Now this is where Jeremiah gives us a beautiful surprise. After all the warnings, destruction, mourning, and judgment, the chapter ends with hope. Yet I will restore the fortunes of Moab in days to come, declares the Lord. Notice that word, yet. What a powerful word. Things may look broken, yet. You may have failed, yet. A season may have ended painfully, yet. You may have made mistakes, yet. God can still write another chapter. The word yet reminds us that God's story is sometimes bigger than the chapter we are currently living, and perhaps that is what someone listening today needs to hear. Don't make a permanent conclusion from a temporary season. Don't decide that your failure is the end. Don't assume that because something is broken it can never be restored. We end with a reminder that restoration is still possible. So we are left with 3 simple questions. What am I trusting in? Am I trusting in my resources, my achievements, my relationships, or my own ability to control life? What am I afraid of? And can I remember God's words? Do not be afraid, for I am with you. And finally you ask, where do I need to leave room for restoration? Because today's passages remind us that God sees pride, injustice, misplaced confidence, and rebellion. But He also sees beyond the present moment. There is discipline. There is consequence. There is accountability. But there can also be restoration. So perhaps the invitation today is simply this. Put your confidence in God, not in what can disappear. Hold your achievements with gratitude, but not as your foundation. And when life feels uncertain, remember, you may not know what tomorrow holds, but God is still with you. Thank you for listening, and keep trusting God.